I'm Maya Ellis, a systems engineer who's dedicated the past 2 years of my life to Apex Pulse Logistics, a massive e-commerce fulfillment operation based in Atlanta, Georgia. Imagine me knee-deep in a mess of cables, wrestling a robotic arm back into operation, when I glance up at a project banner stretched across the warehouse. It reads, "Congratulations to the automation crew, led by Evan Pierce." My name's there in tiny font, but it's wrong. Maya Ellis spelled as Maya Ellis. 2 years of relentless coding through stormy nights, soldering circuits until my hands ached, and they couldn't even get my name right. That moment crystallized something for me. This wasn't about recognition. It was just another day in a corporate grinder that consumed people like me and discarded their remnants. I grew up in my mom's auto shop on Atlanta's west side, a place thick with the scent of oil and grit. Mom raised me single-handedly, wrenching cars by day and teaching me to tinker with anything I could touch: old radios, broken calculators, anything with a pulse. At 15, I cobbled together my first circuit board, a clunky contraption that sent a toy car zipping across our living room. That spark fueled my life, but the road wasn't always smooth. In my 20s, I joined a tech startup that dangled dreams of grandeur, only to swipe my software design and leave me with nothing but a condescending nod. That betrayal cut deep, so I vowed no one would ever steal my work again. I launched Ellis Inc. Solutions, my own LLC, to safeguard what I created. What I created was Athena, a synchronization controller so elegant it could make a warehouse of robots move like they were performing on a stage. At Apex Pulse, I was the lead systems integration expert, a lofty title that really meant I was the one summoned at 3 a.m. when a drone pallet failed or a conveyor belt threw a fit. I'd haul myself to the warehouse, Athena's code alive on my laptop, and fix what others couldn't. Athena was my ace, a black box marvel I'd built in my garage years earlier, sharper than anything the company's overpriced vendors produced. I slipped her into their system, no fuss, because she worked. No one cared about the house. She was just the blinking gizmo keeping their operation humming. But every time I saw my name misspelled or heard someone like Leila Monroe, the marketing director, claim my fixes as her own, it felt like a nick on my pride. I'd think of Mom, her hands rough from tools, saying, "Maya, when you make something great, guard it fiercely." So I did. Athena belonged to me, registered under my LLC, and I wasn't about to let Apex Pulse take her. That banner wasn't just a typo. It was a glaring signal I was invisible here. I'd pour my coffee, clench my jaw, and push on, but deep down, I felt the burden of being the one they called when systems crashed but forgot when praise was handed out. I wasn't just battling buggy code. I was fighting to be noticed. Every morning at Apex Pulse began the same, a quick sync meeting that ballooned into a 2-hour finger-pointing marathon. I'd sit at the conference table, my laptop open to Athena's diagnostics, while Joseph Holt from procurement rambled about budget woes, his southern drawl thick as syrup. Leila Monroe would cut in, whining that the robots weren't photogenic enough for social media, as if I could program charm into a conveyor belt. Meanwhile, I'd spent the night rewriting backend logic to stop a drone from shredding a stack of yoga mats. No one asked about that. They just wanted flashier charts for the quarterly report. Evan Pierce, our CTO, was the worst. He'd swagger in, all Miami flair, tossing around terms like game-changing tech while claiming my work as his own. I'd watch him pitch my system tweaks as his big ideas in board meetings, my stomach churning. Once, I overheard him tell a client, "Our team's transformed logistics," as if I hadn't been the one debugging his so-called transformation at 4 a.m. Leila was just as bad. She'd swoop in after launches, framing my fixes as her strategic vision. Joseph, meanwhile, kept pushing me to use the company's flimsy sync modules, which burned out faster than a Georgia heatwave. When I swapped them for Athena, he didn't notice, just griped about expenses. I'd nod politely, but inside I was seething. Athena was mine, built with my own funds, coded in my garage, and they didn't deserve her. Those nights alone in the warehouse, with only Athena's flickering lights for company, were both my sanctuary and my prison. I'd feel Mom's words, "Guard it fiercely, Maya," and the scars from that startup betrayal would throb. I wasn't just fixing machines. I was proving I wasn't that naive kid who let her work get taken. But every ignored email, every stolen credit wore me down. I'd drive home at dawn, Atlanta's skyline blurring in my rearview, feeling like I was pouring my soul into a system that didn't see me. Yet I kept going, driven by pride and a stubborn refusal to let Leela, Joseph, or Evan win. Athena was my proof I was more than their troubleshooter. I just didn't know how soon they'd force me to prove it. Athena wasn't born in a gleaming lab. She came to life in a rented garage off Peachtree Street, where the air reeked of motor oil and my own relentless ambition. Years ago, after that startup in my 20s stole my code and left me empty-handed, I swore I'd build something untouchable. I was scraping by on freelance tech gigs then, saving every dime to rent that garage. A cramped, concrete space with dim lights and one shaky outlet. It was my haven. There, surrounded by scavenged circuits and Mom's old toolbox, I built Athena, a synchronization controller that could turn a chaotic warehouse into a seamless operation. I named her Athena for the goddess of wisdom and battle, because she was clever enough to predict system failures and tough enough to manage a warehouse full of glitchy bots. Every chip I soldered, every line of code I wrote, carried my frustration from that betrayal and Mom's voice. Don't let them take it. So I protected Athena, registering her under Ellising Solutions with trademarks and patents locked down tight. When I joined Apex Pulse, I brought her along not as a gift but as a tool. Their vendors' modules were junk, overheating under load, so I slipped Athena into the system. Try this custom fix, I told Joseph, and he shrugged, too busy cutting costs to care. Athena worked, so they didn't ask questions. She was just a blinking device in Bay 2, keeping their robots in sync while I updated her firmware on my personal laptop. I'd watch her run, pride swelling, but also a quiet fear. Apex Pulse didn't know Athena was mine, and I didn't tell them. I'd learned the hard way that companies like this don't value people like me. They value what they can claim. Every time Leela called Athena a system patch, or Evan ignored my late-night fixes, that old wound pulsed. But Athena's steady hum reminded me I wasn't powerless. I just didn't know how much power I'd need. The big demo day came, robots gliding, inventory flowing, Athena orchestrating it all like a conductor. Clients applauded, executives raised glasses of overpriced wine, and I stood in the back, sipping from a plastic cup, my chest tight with pride and something bitter. I'd built this, poured 2 years into it, and yet no one said my name. Not Evan, already angling for a magazine feature, nor Leela, pitching our vision to influencers. I should have been used to it, but it hurt like a fresh wound. The next morning, the silence was deafening. No invite to the follow-up meeting, no email about next steps, just a calendar alert for an HR transition discussion. I overheard them first, though outside conference room B, their voices slipping through the glass. Leela, with her saccharine smile, said, "Maya did her job, but the system's self-sustaining now. She won't make waves." Joseph chuckled. "She's not the type." Evan added, "Let's keep it smooth. Standard exit, no fuss." My coffee went cold in my hand. They thought I was expendable, a gear they could discard after Athena made them look brilliant. Friday, 9 a.m. HR's Michelle greeted me like we were planning a barbecue. "Maya, you've set the stage for our next phase," she said, sliding exit papers across the table. No severance, no mention of Athena, just a rehearsed spiel about project-based roles and a pen that didn't work until I jabbed it twice. I signed, my pulse racing, not with tears but with a sharp, icy clarity. They hadn't listed Athena in the asset inventory. No one asked about the blinking box in Bay 2, the one I owned, the one keeping their empire alive. I walked out, badge empty, but my mind was buzzing. They'd betrayed me, but they'd also handed me a weapon. I wasn't done. I was just beginning. I didn't cry when I got home. I didn't scream or torch my Apex Pulse lanyard in a dramatic bonfire. I just brewed coffee, sat by my window, and watched a neighbor's dog chase its tail in the Atlanta twilight. The betrayal stung, but it was quiet, like a fuse burning toward dynamite. They thought they could erase me, but they forgot Athena. She was mine, registered to Ellising Solutions, and they hadn't even noticed. That oversight was my leverage, and I was ready to wield it. I opened my laptop and started drafting. License agreement for AthenaSync controller, licensor, Ellising Solutions, LLC. I set the terms, $150,000 a month, non-negotiable, with a 30-day renewal window. If they didn't pay, Athena would throttle their systems, a gentle shutdown that halt their warehouse. It wasn't sabotage, it was enforcement. I called Talia Reed, my college roommate turned IP lawyer, working out of a polished office in Athens, Georgia. Over FaceTime, she munched pretzels and scanned my draft, her eyes gleaming. "You built this from nothing?" she asked. I nodded, sharing Athena's blueprints, stored on a secure drive. This is ironclad, she said. They never registered it, never paid for it. You've got them. I spent the night coding a heartbeat check into Athena's firmware. Every 30 days, she'd ping my server for a renewal code. No code, no sync, simple, clean, and legal. My hand trembled, not from fear, but from the weight of what I was doing. I wasn't just protecting my work. I was reclaiming my value. Mom's voice echoed, "Guard it fiercely, Maya." As I saved the code, I felt the sting of Apex Pulse's dismissal harden into resolve. I mailed the licensing agreement to Apex Pulse's legal team in a sleek black envelope with a post-it. "Athena's watching. Renewal due in 19 days. Then I waited. They didn't respond. Emails trickled in, first polite, like Megan from finance asking about asset transfers, then frantic, with phrases like IP concerns in bold. I ignored them, monitoring Athena's dashboard from my Atlanta apartment. Her stats were flawless, 97% sync efficiency, load balancing perfect, but the clock was ticking. By week 3, Athena's performance caps activated. Without the renewal code, she slowed non-critical routes. Robots in the warehouse started looping, circling pallets of air fryers like confused pups. Jadon, the DevOps intern who'd once called Athena the core of everything, texted me a blurry photo of the chaos. "Fulfillment's down 20%. Is this you?" I replied, not directly, but my pulse quickened. Southern Star Freight, Apex Pulse's key client, noticed. They called about 2-hour delays, demanding answers. Leela and Joseph scrambled. Evan barked about firmware updates, but they were clueless. Athena wasn't broken, she was following my orders. Talia called, her voice half laughing, half concerned. "Maya, you're playing chess with a missile. Sure you want to go this far?" I stared at my laptop, Athena's heartbeat blinking steadily. Part of me felt guilty. Jadon didn't deserve this mess. But the bigger part remembered Leela's smirk, Joseph's shrugs, Evan's stolen credit. They'd built their empire on my work and thought they could discard me. Now their warehouse was choking, Southern Star was furious, and I held the key. I wasn't gloating, but it felt good to see them sweat. By day 29, Apex Pulse was sinking. Southern Star threatened to drop their contract, and the warehouse was a graveyard of frozen robots, one clutching a stack of yoga blocks like a child with a stuffed toy. My inbox overflowed with urgent emails, and then my phone rang. Evan, the former CTO, his Miami bravado gone. "They fired me, Maya," he said, voice breaking. "They know they messed up. They need you." I let the silence linger, feeling the weight of 2 years of being invisible lift. "Define need," I said. He stumbled over options, but I wasn't negotiating. I sent a new contract, 6 months, triple my old pay, paid up front, Athena's IP untouched, and a secure office. "You wrote this like royalty," Evan said, reading it. "They'll sign." They did. I walked back into Apex Pulse not as an employee, but as Maya Ellis, owner of Ellis Solutions. The new CTO, a nervous R&D guy, tried to brief me on their recovery plan. I let him talk, then plugged in my drive. Athena roared back to life, sync efficiency hitting 99.9% in minutes. The room gasped like I'd performed a miracle. I felt it then, vindication, sharp and sweet. But there was a flicker of something else too. Power like this was heavy. I thought of Mom, her hands steady on a wrench, and Jadon's wide-eyed texts. I wasn't here to ruin them, just to make them see me. And now they did. I stood in Apex Pulse's warehouse, my warehouse in a way. Athena's lights blinked steadily, robots moving again, the chaos of the lockout fading like a nightmare. The new CTO trailed me like a skittish pup, jotting notes as I explained how to stabilize their system, my system. Leela avoided my gaze, Joseph muttered apologies, and the board sent a fruit basket, which I passed to Jadon's team. Southern Star signed the contract, but Apex Pulse's PR took a hit. Blogs buzzed with headlines like, "Logistics Titan Tripped by IP Oversight," and I read them over coffee, feeling not smug, but grounded. Ellis Solutions was no longer just a legal entity. It was my future, forged from the ashes of their betrayal. I thought of Mom, who taught me to hold tight to what I built, and the younger me, burned by that startup, who'd vowed to never be invisible again. I'd kept that vow. I'm still consulting for Apex Pulse, but on my terms. My office has a lock, my name's on the door, and Athena's heartbeat is mine to control. I drive home through Atlanta's glow, feeling lighter than I have in years. This wasn't just about winning, it was about proving I was enough. To everyone who's followed this journey, thank you. You've walked with me through the grind, the betrayal, and the triumph. If my story resonates, hit that subscribe button and join me. Every line of code, every fight for what's mine, is a tale of heart and hustle. Keep building your own truth, and I'll meet you at the top.